So the interesting thing about this story is he knew that she'd gone to the bathroom and then joined her. Have I got that right? It's not a case of he didn't know anyone was in and walked in. Can we clarify this?
I think I just assume he felt very relaxed about whatever she was doing in there was going to be okay for him to see.
And in this episode, how to date healthily.
I'm very excited about this one because we're now getting into the meat of where we are. We are dating. So how do we make sure everything's going to run smoothly and that our picker is on the right trajectory? We found the right person. Or we found somebody we can work with.
Something we can work with. Okay, something that we're hoping to mold. Is that what it is? Okay. So getting the picker. So often, friends, family, they have an input in your dating. They have an idea of who you should be dating, when you should be dating them. And so a lot of advice I give is you've got to disregard what your friends and family are saying. They have got their own motivations. I hear about best girlfriends who secretly don't want you to actually date because then they'll no longer be able to hang out with you as much. We've got family members who maybe think that no one is quite good enough for their darling. A lot of the time we do have to disregard what friends and family are saying. Not if, here's my little asterisk in the corner, not if they're saying they think the person's a scam artist, a con artist, not if they're saying that they think there's something fundamentally really wrong with that person. It can be shocking to hear, but if your friends or your family have got some really good advice for you in terms of saying to you, there's something about this person that just isn't right, then definitely listen. When it comes to you're going to ask me something.
I was going to say, so trust your instincts, really.
Trust your instincts. So often it's hard to do that. You can find yourself Googling, should I trust my instincts? The answer is yes. When it comes to the picker, I've talked about people who, as I said right now, I've talked about people who perhaps are too forgiving, and that's why their friends and family might be saying this person's a wrong un. But the other side of the coin is selecting someone who actually, disregarding people that you should actually be selecting. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. We've talked about red flags, green flags, beige flags. People are putting really good potential partners into the red flag bundle, and they shouldn't be. It's so important that you don't disregard people for tiny reasons, for superficial reasons. If they've got a grammatical error on their post online if you're online dating, just ignore that. Some people aren't good at proofreading. Some people are dyslexic. Give people a chance. Give people an opportunity. Don't just disregard someone for a very small reason. And, sure, there's a lot of pictures that we hate or find annoying, but give people an opportunity.
And actually, you talked about Googling. The worst thing to do is to Google, particularly a person, or look at their Facebook history, or, you're inevitably going to find things that are going to annoy you, or you're going to see an ex-girlfriend or an ex-boyfriend and think, oh, they're really attractive, or they're not what I was expecting, how can they possibly like me? So really, you need to park your ex relationships. You park everything because you're looking forward. You're looking forward into the future, and not thinking about what's gone before.
Absolutely. And it can be so unsexy to research people in advance. It can be so unsexy to look them up in advance. And everything that you've said, absolutely right. You do not want to be trying to recreate a relationship that you've been in the past. That is not an attractive thing to be doing. And you may have made mistakes in the past, and it's good to try and get over those hurdles with the next person that you're meeting. But if you're constantly referencing your ex, either no one will ever come up to their standard, or you might be fearful of getting into a relationship because you're worried that it might turn out like the relationship did with your ex. So it is really important to try and not reference the ex. It's also not very sexy to talk about your ex on a date. And it can be very, very tempting because you're in a dating scenario. So you're naturally thinking of the past people that you maybe went out with or had a relationship with. but it's not an attractive thing to talk about the ex. And when you mentioned Googling, certainly looking people up online and trying to find out who they dated and what they looked like and how it went, also, also not fantastically attractive.
The other thing is you want to maintain somebody's interest. So what about game playing? Do we ditch the games? Do we automatically respond when we get a phone call or a text, or is it good to kind of maintain that little bit of, oh, actually I'm not available tonight, but I'm available tomorrow? Where do you go with game playing?
So there shouldn't be game playing. What is important is that you are busy. So it's not fake, it's not false. The more that you have going on in your life, the richer that your life is, the more likely you are to attract the kind of partner that you want to attract. So it's not about pretending not to have seen your phone or pretending to be in the gym. It's better to have a full life, seeing friends, seeing family, doing the hobbies and interests that you like. So if you happen to be at the cinema or the gym or with a friend, not keeping your phone out in front of you, waiting desperately for that message, but to be unavailable. And to be unavailable is not game playing, it's simply leading a rich life. And no one really wants to meet someone who's immediately available, constantly in contact, always looking at their phone. You want to really meet someone who's also willing to put that phone down. And so it's not part of game playing. You're not waiting 3 days, 2 days, 1 day. There's no rules around this. But if you get a message, there is some manners and being timely about it, while also giving the other person grace that you might not have heard back from them. And the reason you've not heard back from them is they're also leading a full life.
So you're not ditching your normal friends and things that you would normally do, but I guess it's about creating a balance. You have to work at a relationship. You're going to need to make time for somebody, but not to the expense of the other things that you have on in your life, because that is what is making you interesting to that person in the first place.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head. You are an interesting person. You are someone who is going to attract like minded, but you're not ditching your entire life in order to date this person. That doesn't mean that you might not have to move things around a little bit to make sure you've got space. We've talked about having space in your life before, but you want to carry on doing the things that keep you engaged. We don't want to get into that type of limerence where we're thinking of the other person, focused on the other person before we actually know them. I think the saying is the best way to fall out of love with someone is to actually get to know them, which is a terrible thing to say. But the idea is this period of kind of obsession when you first meet someone can sometimes cloud our judgment. And I do think it's so much better when you meet someone. People often think they're going to have these stars and there's going to be this incredible kind of collision, and you're going to realize, my gosh, this person is fabulous and incredible on one meeting. But it's much better to have the slow burn. It's much better to meet someone and not be entirely sure. I'm not sure. I think they're a nice person. I think they could be a friend. I'm not sure about dating them. That is the perfect way to start a relationship rather than to start with the thunderbolts. Because if you think back on relationships you've had, on people you've met where it didn't work out, but you had that chemistry, you had that, oh my goodness, this person is exactly what I've been looking for. Usually that's lust rather than love. And usually that is something that passes over time. So think back on your previous relationships. So think back on your previous relationships where you had that collision, all of that excitement. You started on a high. Did it end on a high, or did it all disintegrate? And this is the thing that you've got to think about. It's not always about that intense passion. Usually that intense passion doesn't last.
Okay, so here's a question for you. What about making an effort? In the first few dates, obviously you're making a big effort with the way you look, what you're wearing, and inevitably when you start seeing somebody a little more, they may, for example, the guy may not shave. He I mean, that might be quite sexy, or, you might decide to wear, old jeans or an old jumper. Where, give us a few clues as to, making an effort. Where, should you still really kind of put 100% into it, full makeup or whatever you would normally do?
This is tricky. And the reason it's tricky is you don't want to, on the one hand, you don't want to build a false persona of who you are. So you don't want to turn up having not eaten a meal for a fortnight and with blow-dried hair and manicured nails that you don't normally do, but you've done for this, and then have to try and maintain it. Okay, so on the one hand, you want to be authentic and true to yourself. On the one hand. On the other hand, it's a very, very competitive dating market, which means there's a lot of people all looking for the unicorn, all looking for this person that they think is going to fulfill them. That's a whole other conversation. But it is very competitive when it comes to dating. And you do have to put best foot forward. So you're right, you do have to make an effort when you're meeting someone. But at the same time, if your style is naturally more grungy or naturally got the, as you say, pair of jeans with the slashes at the knees, then you have to decide at what point you're going to say, well, actually, I'm a bit more like this rather than a bit more like that. Dating authentically is very important, and dating in a way that you are being true to who you are while also presenting that best version. It's a little bit like a job interview. You don't turn up to the job interview and say, oh, sorry, I was 15 minutes late. I'm always late and I'm always going to cause problems. And oh, there's my phone ringing. Yeah, I always take phone calls during the day. They normally last hours because I've got, friends that move. You go into a job interview in the same way that you go into a date, doing your best, presenting who you are, but not running in with all your problems, all your issues. This is what's going to happen 6 months down the line. Terrible divorce. It's all gone badly. We're still in court. Total crisis. That's not how you want to enter into this. You want to go in presenting the best that you can, the best version of who you are, but also realizing that the other stuff comes out later. But you need to get a basis of understanding of someone before you can do the warts and all, before you can do any kind of big reveal. And once the person knows you, has spent some time getting to know you, what you think is a big reveal, what you think is a huge issue, might actually not be that important to the other person. They might not think it's a big deal at all. And they might have far tougher, trickier things going on in their life than the problem that you've dealt with. Not sympathetic about it, but they might not see it in the same way as you do.
I think what you're saying is communication. You need to be able to talk to one another. It made me think of, when you're kids and your friend runs up to the person you quite like and says, oh, she doesn't like you today because you're not wearing, she liked that blue shirt yesterday and she doesn't like the yellow shirt today or something. If something's wrong, you can't use friends to get messages across. You've got to, it's an adult relationship. You've got to be able to talk to somebody.
Completely. Communication is always key. Being open about who you are, being open about the kind of life that you lead, and talking about your goals and ambitions, not just for your career, but also for life. And being able to tell someone, not on the first date, but within, I would say, 3 or 4 dates, my intention is that I'm looking for the right person. I'm going to be intentional about that. And I do have a strong idea of the kind of person that I'm looking for. And if this was to become a committed relationship, this is what I'm looking for. If this was to become a committed relationship, I am looking to get married in the future. I am looking to have children in the future. And that is something that you do need to express. People are worried about expressing it because they think the person will run for the hills. Well, if they do, they're not the right person for you. But not everyone knows that they want this. Not everyone knows that they want to get married or knows that they want to have children. They maybe think, well, if I met the right person, we dated for a while, that might be right for me. But not everyone knows. And that's also why I believe, as a matchmaker, that you shouldn't discuss, I want to get married and have babies on the first date. Other matchmakers disagree with me. They say you should discuss it on the first date. I think it is good to be intentional, to say, I'm not dating to sleep around. I'm not dating to have a pen pal. I'm not dating to find a friend. I am dating to find the right person for me. And it allows the other person to say, well, actually, that's definitely not something I'm looking for right now. Or the other tricky one that sometimes people say is, well, that might be something I want to do, but I'm not sure. Why don't we just see where things go? Now, when someone says, I'm not sure, shall we see where things go? They're saying, I do not want a relationship with you. And when you are dating,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
yeah, yes.
You need to repeat that line.
Okay, I'll repeat that line. So when someone says, I'm not sure what I want, why don't we just date and see where it goes? They do not want a relationship. And 6 months down the line, when you say, look, we haven't clarified what's going on here, they say, no, remember at the beginning, I said I really didn't know. I like how things are going. I like how things are happening now. People know if they want to be in a relationship or not. They know. They broadly know. They meet someone and they know. If they're saying, I really don't know how I feel about a relationship, I'm really not sure if I want to be with one, be in one, believe that person. They don't know. Let's just take it at that. But you do know. You do know.
And also, one has to accept that rejection is part of the dating process. It's not about you not, you shouldn't take it as a slight on yourself or a negative. It's because that person is not right for you. It's not, it's not you having, you shouldn't lose confidence over it. I mean, I know it's hard if it's somebody, or maybe it's you not feeling right about it. It's, it's just that we need to learn. Rejection is often a good thing because it means that the right person is still there in the hinterland.
Absolutely. Rejection is really, really important. And the problem is when people are rejected in dating, instead of saying to themselves, good, this is one person who doesn't want to be with me that I've got out of the way, that's moving me towards the person that does. And that is what people should be thinking. But as I said, they don't think that. What people think is, why doesn't this person want me? Why am I not good enough? What do I have to change? How do I have to alter? They didn't give me a chance. Perhaps if I did things differently. So the person naturally, this is normal, this is not abnormal, they start to question themselves and what it is that they have done wrong and why they should have done it differently. That then leads them to thinking, well, if I had just had more time with the person, or if I just changed or altered in some way. It's so important to think that's okay. I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me. This is just not the right person. And I'm going to move on to the next. And it allows us to find the next person quickly. Imagine if that person that doesn't want to see you again after 5 dates, 10 dates, 12 dates, 3 months. Imagine if they didn't say anything and they sat on it for a year, or they sat on it for 2 years, or they sat on it for 3 years or 4 years, because it can happen. People can do that. They can think, this person's not right for me. I know I don't want to have kids with them. I know I don't want to marry them. But I quite like them for whatever the reason is. I quite like getting into bed with them, or I quite like the way they make me feel. They make me feel good. So I'm going to keep them around. And that rejection conversation, the conversation around you are not right for me, happens instead of happening after 2 months or 3 months, happens after 5 years. You're in a completely different position after 5 years. This is therapy time. This is heartbreak time. This is maybe you now can't have children. And so it's so much better when a person tells you at the very beginning or after 3 months or 5 months, this is not looking right for me and I don't want to be with you. Don't hang on. Take them at their word the first time and use it as next. And I know it's heartbreaking and difficult. You've got to just accept it, deal with it as you can, and get back looking again because you know what it is that you're looking for.
So let's have a look at the habits to look out for that are really whether it's you or whether it's the person you're dating. So you begin to realize that there are little things that you want to try and change, that they're not quite. You're wanting somebody to behave in slightly different ways in different situations. I mean, presumably nobody is going to, not if things aren't going to change. That person is the way they are. So hanging around for somebody to, oh, well, next time, he'll do things differently or I'll do things differently. Presumably that we're getting into that sort of control and manipulation. You've got to be realistic. That person is not going to change. You are not going to change. You're how you are.
That's exactly right. The change, if you see someone and think they could be better, they could do better, that's not going to happen. They're not going to do better. They're not going to be better. The one time that I have seen where people change is where they start off charismatic, kind, loving, all of the things that you're looking for. They present themselves as that, but they can't maintain it. And then when the mask slips, when the facade drops, and the person that had made you the center of the universe for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dates, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, then turns out not to be the person they portrayed themselves to be. People can fall into but they were like that. Maybe they'll change back. Maybe if I did this or altered this or became more of who they would like, I would get the person at the beginning. So that's the only time that they can change, is after the facade slips, they become who they really are, and you're hankering back. They're not going to go back to the person they pretended to be at the beginning. And that is, you said about people changing. You're right. They're not going to change back into that person, and the person that you might want to alter to become better is not going to become better. It's not going to happen. So either you have to say, well, I'm willing to put up with this bad behavior because they behaved really nicely at the beginning, which I think you shouldn't do. I think they've shown you who they are and it's not going to alter. You keep hanging on because of how nice they made you feel at the beginning. Don't do that. And equally, as you said, if you meet someone and you think, gosh, if they only did this, if they only, I love gifts, if only they bought me flowers or brought me chocolates, and you keep reminding and it's not happening, you're going to build up resentment. They're not going to naturally be that person. And you're not going to get 100%. Maybe you're going to get 80% in terms of what you're looking for. But if something is really important to you in order to maintain a relationship and you can't cope without it, then you know that you can't carry on with that relationship. If you love flowers, you can always buy your own.
This is also reminding me of a situation whereby you get involved with somebody that's married, and right at the beginning, they tell you very early on that, you're the best thing that's ever happened to them, that they're going to leave the marriage or the relationship that they're in. And I'm assuming that you're going to tell me 99 times out of 100, they're never going to leave that spouse.
In terms of having an affair?
Because sometimes you meet somebody and you don't necessarily know that they're in a committed relationship, or you might not understand the
dynamic
and it's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Because you're already on the back foot.
Yes. So when it comes to affairs and people cheating on their spouses, you're absolutely right. There are a portion of people who simply never mention the fact that they're married. And I actually know of examples where that's happened, where people have pretended to be single and they are not. And so that is a genuine thing that can happen. But you have to know where your moral compass lies and what's important to you as to whether you wish to carry on with that. My perspective is that you are not the one that went in front of a priest or a vicar or had a ceremony. You are not the one that chose to marry that person. So therefore, the responsibility really lies with the person that's chosen to have the affair. Are they going to leave their spouse? Really depends on the situation. I think it's highly unlikely. If they're pretending not to be married in order to date, it's extremely unlikely that they're going to leave their spouse for you. It's not unheard of that people leave their spouses for someone else, but usually in very different circumstances. If they're openly dating while married, they'll probably be quite clear about it, just so that you know, I'm not going to leave my husband. I'm not going to leave my wife. That's up to you and how you feel about life. But if marriage is important, if children are important, then it's probably not the best idea to engage in an affair, if especially if you want to get married and have kids. It's extremely unlikely the person's going to leave their partner. But that's all. That's yeah. Well, what were your thoughts on it, Carol?
No, I'm going to lighten the mood because I think we're getting into depressing
I was going to
territory.
say we've got to be a bit. You've got to be a bit careful. We might have to cut the entire thing that we've just done. I'm not sure.
So I want to talk about when getting to know each other. So I have a girlfriend who told me this lovely thing that happened to her. She went away with this chap. It was the first time that they'd been away. He took her to I can't remember whether it was his sister's house in the country or something, and she went to use the bathroom and she closed the door, and about 5 minutes later, he walked in, and she was absolutely horrified that, she had physically closed the door, which meant I need my private space and I need to be left on my own for a little while. And yet he had obviously thought it was completely natural to open the door and come in. And so there was this horrible awkwardness because she was sitting on the loo. And, that is not a good look for anyone. So how do we deal with those situations when you're early in a relationship? Do you say, oh, by the way, I'm just going to have some privacy, may I have some privacy for 10 minutes? Do you make sure you lock the door? You stick a chair under the thing? I don't know what. It just made me, it felt so sorry. Anyway, can I just say the relationship didn't last. She was so horrified.
Well, because of course all good middle class houses don't have locks on their bathroom doors. I'm acutely aware of this.
Why is
So
that?
so the interesting thing about this story is he knew that she'd gone into the bathroom and then joined her. Have I got that right? It's not that a case of he didn't know anyone was in and walked in. Can we clarify this?
I think I just assume he felt very relaxed about whatever she was doing in there was going to be okay for him to see. I don't know.
So he just thinks, yeah, this is whatever she's doing in there. We're all at the party together. Yeah, that would be, if it was a case of he walked in, said, "Oh my goodness, I am so sorry," and walked out. That's mildly embarrassing. But if he kind of says, "Oh, hi there," and carries on with whatever it was he was planning on doing, that's pretty awkward. And I think there's a reason why marriage is the key to a happy marriage. I can't remember. I was going to say it was Margaret Thatcher, but I'm not sure if it was. Key to a happy marriage is separate bathrooms, and that's married couples. So certainly not in the dating stage. To
But you have to have boundaries, and those boundaries will inevitably move a little bit as you get to know somebody more. But and you have to keep a little bit of the magic. Do you not?
Yeah, I think magic is one thing, and standing in the bathroom while someone's doing the toilet is a whole other dimension. I think those are kind of pulls apart. I'm going to be entirely honest with you. Yeah, I don't think you can equate the two, and I think your friend did the right thing, given the fact that that's not something she's entirely comfortable with. And I'm trying to imagine her horror as the door is opened, and of course, depending on the size, she can't quite reach to get her foot or her arm across to keep the thing closed. It's just, I don't know what you do, especially if they're not leaving, because you're feeling so awkward about the whole thing. You're sitting there, loo paper in hand, thinking, I don't. What do I do here? Can I help you? Oh gosh, no. That is really, that's one of the worst ones I've heard in a while. Yeah, I wouldn't be up for that one.
So any hints as to, if you are being invited away for the weekend, I mean, I would immediately start getting a bit nervous about, that, I mean, and excited about that first weekend away. But, can you sort of, I suppose, again, it's communication, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. The first weekend away, this is the advice that I would give for the first weekend away. Research the hotel to make sure that the toilet is not in the middle of the room. And this sounds crazy. There are gorgeous hotels in Dubai, and the toilet is literally with the bath in the center of them with glass walls with little blinds, little cute blinds coming down it. So I would make sure there was some kind of like you were able to go to the loo with some degree of privacy. I think you started the loo story. I'm going to carry on with it.
Who designs stuff like that? I mean, it's bizarre, isn't it?
People who have never been in and never intend being in a romantic relationship where this might not be something you'd want to share. So I think absolutely, I look at the hotel, make sure that there's some soundproofing between the loo and the bed that's not very attractive, or at least make sure you get the TV on or the radio on when you go in, so that all kind of background noises are avoided. But the fact is, when you really like someone, when you're going off for that first weekend away together, a lot of this stuff doesn't matter. Don't take a massive suitcase. It's never a good look to turn up for 2 nights with this huge suitcase that you're both glumping, up staircases. Try and get the overnight bag, small bag. Pick a couple of little outfits that don't need iron, that are going to be low key. But yeah, that's exciting. The idea of the first weekend away. I think it's great.
Actually, there's a story that comes to mind. I was interviewing a guy called Martin Lawrence Bullard, who is interior designer to the stars, and he does the Kardashians and all that. He's English, but he's based in LA. And he was designing a bathroom for Cher. And she wanted her bath to be surrounded by, with banquettes around the room. And then she had these sheer drapes that came down around the bath because when she bathed, she liked to have conversations with, a boyfriend or family or whatever. But also, it meant that she could be in the bath with this beautiful kind of sexy sheen around her. So you kind of could see shadow, but couldn't see properly. And then, she'd extend, I'm sure, extend a leg and soap her leg or, sort of do. And actually, so if you have the opportunity to create a kind of romantic bathroom scenario, that there's so bathrooms can be a part of the that kind of romantic part of the romance of the weekend, perhaps.
Oh, they definitely could. And this story about sharing her bathroom, I didn't think I could like the woman more, and it turns out I can. I can like her more. And she is a gal after my own heart. I think luxuriating in a bath for 3, 4 hours is my idea of heaven. And maybe it's because I'm an Aquarian. I don't know. Is there a link? Although that's meant to be an air sign rather than a water sign. But I think that Cher has got it absolutely right. I think that you have got the visuals there of Cher with a little pointed leg in the air at whatever fabulous age that woman is. She's ageless. I think she's got a younger boyfriend as well. I think I'm right in
Yes,
saying
yes, girl.
she has quite a young man in her life. So she's got it right. She's doing everything the right way. So yeah, okay. Cher's even better than I realized. So yes, baths, showers. Different people have different ideas about what their kind of fantasy may be around this. Some people think it's kind of perfunctory and it's just something that's reserved for cleaning or washing. Other people can see the erotic and the romantic in there as well. And there is something quite nice about, having a bath and a double-ended bath together. There's something quite nice about that.
Um, should we talk about boundaries? Sticking to your boundaries. If if you're feeling slightly uncomfortable about a situation, you know, where where does one kind of keep your your own sort of head rules, or, is it about feeling comfortable? Is it about thinking that you know somebody well enough? Is it about talking? Or, give us a clue about sticking to your boundaries. Or maybe do you sometimes have to reassess your boundaries?
The moment you start reassessing your boundaries is the moment you know that the relationship or the dating is wrong. You've developed your boundaries.
It's shocking me, Gillian, honestly.
I'm shocking you? Oh my goodness. Okay, we're going to be causing problems out there. You've got to stop and halt, because people who are highly manipulative when it comes to dating, people who are narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, people who are just not even any of those things, people who are out for themselves, who are dating you to get what they want from you, they are going to constantly be pushing your boundaries. They're going to say things like, oh, I thought you were a fun person. Oh, I thought you said you were spontaneous. Oh, I thought. And you're then on the back foot justifying, oh no, but I wasn't saying yes because of this. I wasn't saying. And so because you're on the back foot, you start to question yourself. So when we're talking about boundaries, we're talking about healthy boundaries that you have. Healthy boundaries of, I'm not going back to someone's house until I know them. Healthy boundaries of, I'm not going on a weekend trip until I know them better. I'm not going. The healthy boundaries, they're designed to protect you. You may have some boundaries in place that are a little bit out of whack with the way that dating's happening right now. But if you have healthy boundaries in place that you've developed over time, one of the real red flags of dating and relationships is someone who pushes you on your boundaries, pushes you on what you're comfortable with. If the other person is not comfortable with the boundaries that you have, they're not the right person for you. If they're not willing to accept your boundaries, they are not the person that you should be dating.
Wow. Thank you. You are talking so much sense, and I'm learning a huge amount.
I'm so glad that you're learning from this. And I really hope that the people listening are going to learn some of this too. They might not all agree with me. It's not always about agreeing, but some of it is about maintaining, as we said, healthy dating is listening to your inner voice. And if you've got boundaries in place that are damaging your ability to date, then you need to start thinking about it. Some boundaries people might have are no sex before marriage, but they also might never want to get married. So therefore, there is a boundary, there's something in their head that they actually need to work through and work out. Because if you want to have a healthy sex life with a partner without getting married, then obviously you've got to get over that. But if you don't believe in sex before marriage, a lot of people don't, then that's your healthy boundary. And the moment someone starts to question it, or the moment someone starts to push you, you need to step back. You need to make that clear. This is one of the boundaries that I won't cross. This is something that's important to me and my values. And there are plenty of people out there, believe it or not, including plenty of men who will respect that. But it's not just men, not just women that could have a no sex before marriage. Men can also have that too.
I remember, so I used to be obsessed by this American program, Millionaire Matchmaker. Did you ever see it?
Yes, I did. Millionaire Matchmaker with Patti Stanger. Yeah.
Patti Stanger. Absolutely love that woman. And I remember there was one particular episode with this beautiful, I think she was kind of hot. She had a Filipino mother or something, beautiful girl, and this very hunky guy. And when they get down to the last three and they all have a night together. And it's very, you never quite know what's going on, but you kind of get the feeling of who's gone a bit further than who. And obviously the pressure on each of those three women who all want to marry this, get engaged to this guy, or for him to propose to them. I guess the pressure is really strong that you desperate, you have one night to prove that you are the one. And I remember this girl, we'll call her Fifi, I can't remember her name, Claire or whatever. She was absolutely adamant from the beginning. She was not going to sleep with somebody until she got married. Absolutely not. And she completely stuck to her guns. And in the end, she was the one that got chosen. And I'm not saying that, it's right or wrong to have slept with him or whatever, but what was so lovely is that it obviously made no difference, to him, because he was he fell in love with her for the right reasons. And I think that was actually, occasionally I Google and have a look at how they're doing, and they're one of the couples that is still together. They've got 3 kids, and it was so heartwarming, because you kind of inevitably think, oh, they're just out, of course they're going to want to have sex or whatever, and that's not necessarily true.
Right. Absolutely right. And the fact is, he still picked her and they still went off together. So the people who are being told when they're dating, oh, that's ridiculous, everyone has sex before they're married, you've got to have sex on the 3rd day, or no man or no woman's going to take you seriously unless you have sex. Those people are saying that in order to sleep with you. And what very sadly often happens for people who don't want to have sex before they're married, what can happen is that they end up dating someone who says that's ridiculous. In this day and age, no one's ever going to wait. These are, this idea is so outdated, and they pressurize and manipulate the person to sleep with them, and then they disappear. So not only has this person done the thing that they didn't want to do, because this person both made them feel special and did negging, which is making them feel bad about themselves. So to anyone out there who does want to stay celibate until they're married, I applaud that. Make sure that either you stick to your guns on it, or if you find someone that you think is right for you and you want to sleep with them, you've decided, okay, that was important to me before, but I think I've found the right person, and I'm going to sleep with them before we're married. Please make sure you're in a committed relationship and you're not sleeping with the person because they've said, if you don't sleep with me, I'll leave. If you don't sleep with me, I'll split up with you. You're going to miss out on getting married to me because I'm going to leave you before that. Those are the people that you must avoid, and you shouldn't date any longer, and are never going to be with you for what you want. Because if someone really does love you, they genuinely will wait, and they'll say, what a lovely thing, this is something we can do together. So don't allow anyone to pressurize you ever into having sex. And we often think that that's something that teenagers might experience. It might be 16, 17. Well, in the UK, it's legal from a younger age. So in America, at an older age, you might feel that pressure. We're worried about our kids. They might get pressurized into doing something they don't want. But it happens to adults too. And it's a really common thing to happen with adults too, is that other adults can pressurize them. And so it is so important that you don't allow that to happen. And the moment you feel any pressure to sleep with someone or do something that you wouldn't normally feel comfortable doing, stop. Do not let anyone pressurize you. It is never going to get better. It is never going to feel good. You have to want to do it. And if you think that actually, you know what, maybe something's happened to me in my past, and therefore I'm reticent to get into bed with someone, and you think that actually it's not about the person, it's more about the way that your brain is dealing with trauma, then again, I always say therapy is great to help you with that, but don't let anyone pressurize you to do anything, ever.
Fantastic advice, Gillian, as ever. Thank you so much. And I look forward to chatting to you next time.
Thank you, Carol. Always fun. Talk to you soon.